Look at this incredible bar chart. Now, to regress just a little bit, this is from a study which was 12 months long with consumption of 1,500 milligrams of curcumin per day compared to a placebo. And the study's title, which we'll look at real fast, is Curcumin for Inflammation Control in Individuals with Type 2 Diabetes Mellitus, Metabolic Dysfunction-Associated Steatotic Liver Disease, a randomized controlled trial, which metabolic dysfunction, steatotic liver disease, steatotic, is now being used as opposed to non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, which I'm in full agreement with. Much better term. But it's just the same. Let's just look at these beautiful outcomes in reference to this 12-month randomized controlled trial. So let's look at the first one. Curcumin's effect on body composition, the winning of the battle of the bulge. That is Gemini, which is artificial intelligence, sense of humor, title, so to say, but still just the same outcome. Amazing. Look at this, body fat percentage. Now, check this out, down below, waist circumference. To reiterate, 12 months, 1,500 milligrams of curcumin, or you could say curcuminoids, compared to placebo. Now, I want to show you real fast, too. This is actually how the data was presented. Now, there's a lot to say. There's a difference between data science and data storytelling. And if you look down below, you see the TBF, total body fat percentage. And you can see where it says the P factor, 0.001. Incredible outcome confidence level, but still just the same. You can see how I took the liberty of creating these bar charts to make it easier to tell their story. All right. Curcumin's effect on metabolic health. All right, look below or above, body mass index, as also to liver stiffness. Now, we'll get more into that in a second because liver stiffness is also a factor in regard to metabolic health that's being looked at as well. Please forgive me if I speak kind of fast. I want to try to get this all done in under 10 minutes. All right, next chart. Curcumin's effect on antioxidant defense. This is something that comes up over and over again in regard to curcumin's consumption. Look at the glutathione levels compared to the placebo, as well as look at the superoxide dismutase levels compared to that. That is pretty astounding. Now to proceed forward, let's look at this. Curcumin's impact on key inflammation markers. Less cellular anger, once again, Gemini artificial intelligence, cooling the body's fire alarm, neutral interleukin 6, in reference to inflammation markers. That is pretty amazing. Again, the researchers wanted to conduct a longer study, which we will now delve into. All right, methods. In this randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled trial, 78 patients with type 2 diabetes mellitus and, once again, metabolic dysfunction-associated steatotic liver disease. It'll eventually be shrunk down to metabolic dysfunction liver disease. All right, we're randomly assigned to receive either curcumin, 1,500 milligrams a day, or placebo for 12 months. 12 months of curcumin supplementation improved glycemic control, reduced systemic inflammation and oxidative stress, and significantly improved hepatic steatosis and liver stiffness in patients with MASLD. These findings support curcumin as a promising adjunctive therapy for MASD, once again, used to be referred to as non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. The backstory. Metabolic dysfunction-associated steatotic liver disease is defined by hepatic steatosis in conjunction with at least one condition, such as obesity, overweight status, type 2 diabetes mellitus, or laboratory markers of metabolic dysregulation. The term MASLD was introduced in 2023 by an international expert panel as a replacement for non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Its incidence has surged alongside the global increase in obesity, type 2 diabetes, and metabolic syndrome, making MASLD the most prevalent chronic liver disease worldwide. It is also a growing contributor to severe liver conditions, including cirrhosis, liver failure, and hepatocellular carcinoma. Several randomized clinical trials have demonstrated that curcumin possesses hepatoprotective, antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, anti-diabetic, and lipid-lowering properties in humans. Notably, most of these studies were relatively short duration, typically around 8 weeks. For instance, conducted 8-week trial, randomized trial, double-blind, placebo-controlled, good studies, all just the same. I'm going to skip ahead, but there tend to be 8-week periods overall that had very promising results. Again, in the interest of time. Now, the production method. Very simple. Not exactly a complicated process in the production. I wanted to show you that. Just to give you an idea that they weren't using necessarily any specialized brand or type. So, just the processing. Now to our conclusion. I kind of skip a little bit ahead on this as well in the interest of time. Curcumin's anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties may underlie its beneficial metabolic effects, including reductions in waist circumference, total body fat percentage, visceral fat, and BMI, including all those other liver health factors. To proceed forward, we observe significant reductions in liver stiffness. Although liver stiffness is a widely used non-invasive marker of hepatic fibrosis, it is also sensitive to hepatic inflammation. Therefore, elevated liver stiffness may reflect inflammatory activity rather than true fibrotic changes, and the observed reductions may primarily indicate improvements in inflammation rather than definitive fibrosis regression. Curcumin's well-established anti-inflammatory properties likely contributed to these changes. However, as liver stiffness is introduced by both fibrosis and inflammation, the precise nature of the improvements remains uncertain without histological confirmation. To proceed to the end, the final conclusion, or I should say just the beginning of the next story. Curcumin, a bioactive compound in turmeric, exhibits promising protective effects through its anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties. You see that glutathione peroxidase level. That was just in the side. Just amazing. Our findings support the use of curcumin supplementation as potential therapeutic strategy for metabolic dysfunction-associated steatotic liver disease. Given the lack of FDA-approved treatment specifically for MASLD, replacing NEFLD, incorporating curcumin into clinical management may offer safe and effective alternative for disease prevention and treatment. And what an incredible, amazing 12-month study with 78 participants consuming 1,500 milligrams of curcumin per day. The results were outstanding. Did you see the p-values there? 0.001, where usually 0.05 is normally the threshold, depending on that confidence interval, but still just the same. Amazing. All I did was take the liberty of taking the outcome data and putting it into a graph for better data storytelling. Again, gratitude to the researchers. I am humble you watch and look forward to what you and I both discover next week. All right, catch you all next time. See you then. Bye.